Catchings on the drive, and she fittingly scores the first bucket of the afternoon.
From the first time that I stepped on the court here to now, it's just been a blessing, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity.
On the dish to Catchings, who puts it home.
The passion that I play with, the passion that I have not only on the court but off the court. One of the many gifts that God has given me is just the opportunity, the ability to be 100% where I am. So when I'm on the court, I'm 100% here. When I'm out in the community with my foundation or with the kids, I'm 100% there.
It's that fire in the belly that has driven Tamika Catchings to unparalleled success between the lines and beyond. On the court, one of the best to ever play the game. Off the court, just as driven, an executive, a business owner, author, and a champion for her community. Get to know the woman Pacers great Reggie Miller calls fierce, competitive, tough, funny, and loyal on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. Hello and welcome to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. I'm Gary Dick. Well, you might say basketball is in Tamika Catchings' blood. Her dad, Harvey, played 11 seasons in the NBA. She started dribbling and shooting at the age of 5. Born in New Jersey, she grew up in Illinois and Texas, played college ball at the University of Tennessee, before landing in the cradle of basketball about 20 years ago when the Indiana Fever snagged her 3rd overall in the WNBA draft. She led the Fever to a WNBA championship in 2012. Was named league MVP the previous year. She has 4 Olympic gold medals in her trophy case and was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame last year. But there have been bumps on the road to success. Tamika was diagnosed with a hearing disability at the age of 3, something she describes as being ashamed of, until a defining moment her freshman year in college. She also overcame serious injuries, but persevered to spend her entire professional career with the Fever, where she now serves as general manager. She's a business owner, an author, a champion for the less fortunate, and I'm really pleased to welcome Tamika Catchings as my guest on the Business and Beyond podcast. And Tamika, great to have you on the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, and I'm glad we got you to sit still for just a few minutes here. I was thinking as I was doing a little research, you were obviously very busy and traveled during your professional career. You got to be busier now. You were into a lot of different things.
A lot of great things, though. Basketball has allowed me the platform to be able to do a lot of really cool things. And I think as a player, one of the things that I'm really thankful for being here with Pacers Sports and Entertainment, especially with the Indiana Fever and all the great people that I had an opportunity to be with, they introduced me to maybe a network of people that I don't know if I wouldn't have played, if I would have had the opportunities that I had. And so on the other side, I call it the dark side of being on the court. But on the other side, it really has been a blessing to do a lot of, from commentating to working with USA Basketball, to my sister and I with our foundation, to the tea shop. And life goes on, right? It's been absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, and you started that busy trek right after retirement. You got married too that year too, 2016,
right? I
should
remember that, right? Yeah. I should have started off with that. Shoot, I'm going to get in trouble. No, actually I got married before we went into my last season. So it was great. Got married February 7th on Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th, 2016, and then rolled into the NBA All-Star Weekend, rolled right from that to the WNBA season and the Olympics and all of that good stuff.
Now, Parnell, your husband played ball too, right? Was it Buffalo?
Yeah, he went to Pike High School, so he's Indianapolis, native, and then went to Buffalo, University of Buffalo, and then moved out. He played overseas for a few years. Then he moved out to California, which is crazy that we met when he lived in California. And then he drove all the way back here. He moved here that same year that we met. And here we are.
Now, did you get any intense one-on-one competitions at home there, or maybe some horse games maybe?
I will be very honest. I am a sore loser. I have gotten a lot better over the years. But early on, I made a commitment. Had an experience in college when I played one of my exes, and it didn't go so well. The ball ended up in the bleachers, and at that point, I said I probably should not play anybody that I like. Definitely not somebody that I love in any competition, because if I lose, you see the smile, but I cannot say that it is always there.
That's good. What's it like being a general manager, being in the front office? How does that compare? Obviously, very different to your playing days.
Yeah, it is different, but I think the best way to describe it for me, like I love it. I'm a servant leader, and this gives me the opportunity. One of the things coming out of playing, and I remember talking to Rick Fusen, our president of Patriot Sports Entertainment, and Kelly Koskoff when she was still the general manager for the Fever, and I said I just really want to help our players. We go through high school, we go through college, we get to the professional level. We kind of know what we want to do. We graduate from college, but still there's kind of that unknown of what is next in life after we're done playing professional sports. And so my mindset really after getting finished playing was to figure out a way to help our players, both on the Fever side, the Pacer side. I worked in the Mad Ant for a little bit as well. I want to help our players figure out what's next. And so my first job was director of player programs and franchise development. And then I kind of spiraled into some other roles. And, now I'm the vice president of basketball operations and the general manager. But at the end of the day, it gives me the opportunity to serve our players, gives me an opportunity to see things from a player perspective, and the things that, worked when Kelly was our general manager, the things that maybe I wanted to change when she was the general manager from the player side. And now I'm on the other side. I'm like, okay, I actually probably owe her an apology, because there's things now that I see differently being in the chair than I didn't see when I was a player.
Yeah, interesting. So you're a high-level sports executive. You're also a business owner. Tease Me has a great location in Indianapolis. Talk about the business, what it's all about, and is that something? Have you always been interested in business?
I have not been interested in business. My goal as a youngster really was to be a general manager, and that was kind of like staying consistent with basketball and sports. But I fell in love with Tease Me Cafe. In 2005, I became a customer, a full-time customer, I should say, right? But it was a place that I could go. It's kind of like, and I describe it as an oasis. You walk through the door. The space is so welcoming. It's 1,000 square feet, so it's tiny, but it's so welcoming. You feel like you're in a different place. You're not in Indianapolis, and so right after I retired from playing basketball, found out the owner was moving, and one thing led to another, and I took over. And I'm thankful for my experience with basketball and being able to have the opportunity to learn the operation side, even as a player. So I run the tee shop the same way that I run the basketball team. I'm the owner, and then it trickles down to the GM, trickles down to the coaches, to the players, and so forth. That's what makes our operation run.
And you really have made Indianapolis your home, right? I mean, you've traveled all over the globe, but you've settled. You and your husband have settled here in Indy.
We're here, and the foundation is here. The tea shop, we're about to expand to another location. So we'll be headed to Tarkenton Park, which allows me to kind of blend together my two passion, which is working with kids and basketball. I should say three passions: basketball, because we have a court outside, or two full court basketball courts out there, youth, and then, the entrepreneurship aspect of it.
Yeah, well, tell me about the foundation, because that is something I know you're very passionate about as well. I think Catch the Stars Foundation has been around since what, early 2000s,
Yep,
2004 maybe?
2004. Look at you. You did a little bit of research,
A
huh?
little research, did a little checking up. What and are you thinking about maybe maybe you already have expanding to other states as well?
Yeah, we do programming in other states, and we traveled around. Obviously, with COVID happening last year, it we everybody had to pivot. But we've done a lot in different states. We focused on initially the other 11 WNBA cities, and then the last couple of years we looked at adding a couple more states every single year. So we're back at step one right now. We're going to do some things now that we're moving to the new location. We'll do some outdoor clinics. We'll do some things in Anderson. We'll probably look at doing something in Fort Wayne. So just try to keep it local and in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, good, good. So 2001, you were drafted number 3 overall by the Fever, but 2001 was a tough year, right? You had to sit out the entire year because of an ACL that you actually suffered at Tennessee. What do you remember about that first year? What was that like?
Well, when I heard my name, for the number 3 pick, the Indiana Fever select, and it's the silence. Kelly makes her decision. Commissioner comes up and they say my name, and for a minute I was like, "Is that my name?" That was my name, and I crutched up there. I was still on crutches, and really it was a whirlwind. All that was just like a blessing to end up in Indianapolis and into the Fever organization. But that first year, I really wanted to stay in Knoxville. I'll be honest, I wanted to stay in Knoxville. I didn't know much about Indiana. I knew they loved basketball here, but not too much besides that. And Kelly Koskoff said, "Look, I need you to come here. I need you to be here. I need you to get to know your teammate, get to know your new community. This is your new life. You're not going back. You're only going forward." And I'm so glad she pushed me. I came here, and literally that first year, all I did was rehab, community events, get to know the community, and I was out and about and just really learning the different pockets of Indianapolis, and I think that's a big reason why I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, you made up for lost time that next year. You averaged nearly 19 points a game. You were rookie of the year. What was the transition for you like? Did it just click, that college to pro game transition? Was it challenging, difficult? What was it like for you that first year of competition?
Well, Gary, I had a courtside seat to every game my first year with the injury. I was right front and center, and we weren't really good. We weren't really good that year. So, honestly, I came out that next year, and it's almost like they gave me the reins and said, "Look, we want you, to go and do what you do." And it really wasn't about being a star. It was just going out there and just being able to play and play freely. So I think you talk about the transition. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're quicker. All the transition from high school to college, you face that. From college to the program, you face that, and you make the adjustments.
Yeah, yeah. So many accomplishments. Rookie of the Year, MVP, Finals MVP, 5 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 4 Olympic gold medals, the WNBA championship as well. It's really not probably not a fair question, but is there something or some moment, or as you look back on your career with so many accomplishments, anything that really stands out to you, one moment or one accomplishment that really stands out?
The thing that I'm most grateful for, and I've shared this with a lot of people, but the accolades on the court, that's one thing, and the thing that you're able to do. But the thing that I'm most thankful for and grateful is the foundation. Being able to impact lives. I mean, we see it in professional sports all the time. While you're hot, you're hot. But like the world keeps going on, and
Right. Yeah.
eventually the kids don't even remember that you even really played. And so for me, it's really been about impacting kids and impacting lives through the Fever and my role now, and just with all the different things that I have my hands in. It still allows youth to be involved and to be engaged. And I think it gives them somebody that they can see. For our young girls, they see a young girl, or I would like to say a seasoned woman in a role that maybe one of them will aspire to be in one day. And for the young boys that we work with as well, being able to talk about dreams and goals and giving them that passion and giving them the path to be able to fulfill their dreams and goals.
Yeah. Well, you were enshrined into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame the very first year you were eligible. No surprise there. And you went in with some big names as well, including the late Kobe Bryant. And you kind of grew up with Kobe, right?
Yeah, our fathers played together.
Together. What was that? What was your relationship like with Kobe growing up? What was that? What was that like?
Well, it's interesting because our fathers played together in Philly. And then Jelly Bean moved overseas. He went to play in Italy, and then my dad finished. We moved overseas to Italy. They played on separate teams, but I think because of the relationship that they had already, garnered early on, my mom and dad with his mom and dad, when we got over to Italy, there weren't a lot of African American families just walking around, so it was important for the families, his parents, my parents, for all of us to get together. And we only spent that 1 year together, but it's interesting, like how when you spend so much time in 1 year, it becomes embedded in your life. And people ask, like, well, what was he like back then? I'm like, we were kids.
Yeah.
What do normal kids do? I mean, we did all the crazy things that we probably shouldn't have done. I was in second grade; he was a year older, so that was that. We moved back to the States. They stayed in Italy for a few more years, and then fast forward to I remember I was in high school his senior year, right after he went straight from high school to the pros, and I'm like, wait a minute, isn't just that kid? That's the kid that we would. And I mean, it's funny because then, I went 4 years in college. He went straight to the pros. And when we got out, we always had like a bond as far as we would see each other because basketball, the world is so small. So we would see each other, we catch up on the families, and then we go our ways. And then we see each other, we catch up on the families, and we go our ways. And, you take time for granted and you don't realize that not every day is promised. And, I go back to plenty of situations where we were in the same place and I was like, you know what, I'll catch up with them later. And you think that you'll have that. So take advantage of those moments.
Obviously, going into the hall would be very special, but was it extra special or extra emotion going in the same class as Kobe?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool, right? I mean, even when we got the announcement in December, and it was kind of like, okay, your name is up for it. You may or may not get in, but I'm like, how cool is it that we're both in the same class? Like, even just to even think about it. And that was in December before we even knew. And then, of course, fast forward January and that happens. And then February we find out. And what a blessing. I really feel like it's kind of like the end, like you just imagine a big book with it being open and you just like slap it together, like the end of that chapter. Like that book is over and we both were transitioning into our next phase of life and our next book, the continuation.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Very good. Okay, Tamika, now each podcast we do a 2-minute drill. So we ask our guests quick questions, really critically important questions, and want quick answers. So are you up for it?
Are you going to be nice to me?
Oh, yeah. I think you'll do fine on this. So we're going to start out. Who's your favorite musical artist?
Oh, can I just say my favorite type of music?
Yeah.
Christian music.
Christian music. Okay. Do you have Christian music? My next question was, how do you get fired up? Do you get pumped up for the day, or you have a go-to song or anything you like to listen to?
I wake up like this, Jerry. I am high on life. I love waking up every day. I got something different going on, and I don't listen to music. You laugh at me, but I get up like this. Give me a good cup of tea. How about that?
Yeah, I know you know a place where you can get a good cup of tea, right?
I'll take you there.
Yeah. How about a favorite movie?
Favorite movie, Love and Basketball.
Favorite way? Do you have a favorite way to relax? Do you ever have time to relax? If you, how do you do it?
My favorite way to relax, honestly, I love being with my family. So I'll go and just hang out with my little nephews.
Pet peeve?
People that are late. People that are late. Lateness in general. Time is of the essence.
What motivates you? Is there one thing that really, above all else, really motivates you?
I want to be the best in everything and not compared to anybody else, just my personal best.
If you have time to read a book, do you prefer fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Okay. Name three or four people who you would most like to have dinner with.
Oh, this is easy. I'd say God first and foremost. My faith is important. Pat Summitt, the Obamas. Can I loop them into one, or do they have to be separate? Yeah,
that's okay. That's good.
So they'll be looped into one. Yeah. I don't know who else I put at the table right now.
Okay. Last question. Did you have a sitcom, favorite TV show growing up that you really liked?
Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
Yeah, I like that one too. Okay, You successfully completed the 2-minute drill, Tamika. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We have lots more to cover with Tamika, her amazing career at Tennessee, where she played for the legendary Pat Summitt. Also started to connect with another volunteer with an Indy connection, Peyton Manning. And we'll also talk about overcoming some challenges growing up and a lot more. That's when the Business and Beyond podcast returns. Welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast, presented by PNC. I'm honored this week to be joined by basketball legend and Hall of Famer Tamika Catchings. Tamika, as mentioned in our first segment, you're a business owner, you have your own foundation, you're an author. So there's a lot more to your story than basketball, but the game has really been in your blood. As your dad, Harvey, as we talked about, he played in the NBA, played overseas. What was it like growing up with a dad who's a professional player?
It was like being in a bubble and not understanding that you're in the bubble. Honestly, my parents were great, and they are great. We participated in a lot of different sports. My mom and dad never forced us to play basketball. Basketball was just something that we naturally gravitated to, being in the gym with our father. But going to practices and running around the arena, and it's crazy to think back then that I would have my whole life, adult life thus far, has been in the game. But my dad started us on that journey.
Yeah, but yet he didn't push, and neither of your parents pushed you to go into basketball. They gave you that freedom to explore other sports and do other things, and you just kind of gravitated naturally, I guess, to the game of basketball.
Yeah, soccer was my first sport. Softball was my second sport, and I didn't start playing organized basketball until I was in third grade. So, and then my mom put us in dance class. We did gymnastics. I played in the band. I played the baritone for a year. I ran track and field all the way through high school. We played volleyball. So we did a lot of different sports, and basketball. At the end of the day, I remember my freshman year, I got the scholarship to go play at University of Tennessee. Before basketball season started, I ended up in the volleyball gym, and I was going to play on the volleyball team. And I remember asking Pat, I said, "Hey, Pat, what do you think about me playing volleyball? Like, I could be a dual sport athlete." And Pat looked at me and she said, "Oh, that sounds great. So here's the only thing." She said, "If you want to play volleyball, you can play volleyball, but you cannot pick up a basketball until volleyball season is over." And she knew. As soon as she said that, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I don't want to play volleyball anymore."
I'm out. Right. Well, talk about you, because you have a sister who played, right, basketball at the University of Illinois, and you guys actually did you win a state championship together with her? Talk about that.
Yeah, so my sister Taj. So there's actually three of us. My brother Kenyon, it's the oldest. Taja is the middle child, and then I'm the baby. But yeah, Taja and I, we played volleyball and basketball together, and won a state championship my sophomore year, her junior year at Stevenson High School. And then after sophomore year, my mom and I moved down to Texas, but Taja stayed up in Illinois and won another championship by herself before going to University of Illinois.
So success at a high level in high school as well. But your childhood, you had some challenges. You had a hearing disability that was discovered when you were 3. It affected both ears. You had to wear hearing aids. And for a lot of years, it's something you really struggled with, right?
Yes, I threw them away. I'm ashamed, right? I'm ashamed of that, but I threw them away when I was in second grade, when we moved back from Italy, and went without them from second grade all the way to my freshman year in college before going to University of Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, it was one of those things. They were like I still wear them. They're not nice. They're a lot nicer now than they were back then, but I got made fun of because of the way that they looked, the way that I talked. I had a speech impediment, had to go to speech therapy. So just kind of a lot of different things. And as a kid, we've seen a lot of, children that have to deal with being different. And I did not deal with it probably in the best way.
Yeah. Until you got to college, right? Was there kind of a defining moment that Pat Summitt said something or did something that really kind of changed your outlook?
After practice one day, she called me into the training room, and I remember walking to the training room trying to think of all. I'm like, what did I do wrong? I couldn't have done anything wrong. And I walked in, and Pat was in there along with our trainer, Jenny Moshak, at the time. And she kind of just sat me down. She said she went through a whole little spill, and then at the end of it, she said, when people can't see, what do they need? And I was like, oh, they need contact, they need glasses. And she went through, like, when people can't walk or they walk with a limp, like, what do they need? And like, sometimes they need a cane, sometimes they need a little lift in their shoes. And then the last thing she got to was, when people can't hear, what do they need? And I was that slap your forehead moment. I'm like, they need hearing aids. And she said, I had to talk with your mom. I heard you should be wearing hearing aids. I'd love for you to get back into wearing your hearing aids and get back into speech therapy. One day, your story will impact thousands, maybe millions of people. And I remember looking at her like, I don't even talk to people, so there's no way that'll ever happen. And I know she's up there turning in her grave right now, just rolling on the floor, because now I'm not quiet. I'm not that quiet little girl that I used to be.
And that story is an inspiration to be sure. Talk about what Pat Summitt meant to you, certainly as a coach, but beyond that, I know she meant a lot more than just being a basketball coach. What was that relationship like, and the impact that she really had on your life?
Well, Pat is amazing. And I talk about her in present tense, because I really do feel like she lives in each one of us. And I know she lives in me. I'm a part of her legacy. But she was the first female coach that I saw ever, stomping up and down the sidelines. I was in eighth grade, flipping through the channel when it panned in on Tennessee basketball. And that was the first time that I fell in love with, like, the game and women being able to play on the national stage. And her, I was like, man, if I could ever get good enough to play for
Uh-huh.
Pat Summitt, it'd be like the best thing ever.
Uh-huh.
And fast forward a couple of years, got my first letter from the University of Tennessee. I put it on the wall next to my favorite player, Alonzo Mourning, and I was like in heaven every day. But that was the beginning. And then I got to Tennessee, and the respect level and just the type of person that she is, or that she was, humble, successful, just loving, caring. I mean, all the positive attributes of people, but add the leadership title to that, and somebody of her success level having all of those attributes. I mean, you find yourself just watching her without watching her. And, for me, emulating some of the things and some of the ways she walked and the way that she talked to people and the way that she was around people. I mean, she never met a stranger. And people would come from all over. And I'm like, I know I'd be like, okay, enough already, enough sometimes. But she was always like just so giving of her time and so giving of her. And we haven't even talked about her on the basketball court. I mean, that's just all the stuff that goes around it. On the court, she wanted us to be the best. I say I want to be the best, not compared to anybody else. That's how she was. She she knew how to speak to each one of us where we were and to meet us where we were and to push us the way we each needed to be pushed. And a lot of leaders don't know how to do that, but she's the total package.
You won a national championship at Tennessee, right? Was that your freshman year?
Freshman year, yes,
Wow.
so
So
long
what do
ago.
you, yeah. What do you have a favorite memory? I mean, that would have to be one of them, but from Tennessee, your time there had to be very special.
Yes, it was. We went 39-0 freshman year, and remember, I think it was the Elite Eight. We got down to the Elite Eight, and we hadn't. I mean, our practices were harder than our games for some of them, and so like we were down. We were playing against North Carolina at Vanderbilt. We were down. I think 4 minutes left to go. We were down. It might have been like double digit. And I remember Kelly Jolly Harper, Kelly Jolly back then, KJ, now she's Harper. She came in the huddle. Pat had an orange little stool, and she grabbed the stool and slammed it down and sat on it. And she said, "We will not lose." And we all like, I was a freshman, we're all like, uh-huh.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And we
Uh-huh.
went out there and turned the game around, defense, defense, defense. And Yeah, like I will never, and we laugh about it now because her face, and as a freshman, we were like, oh my gosh, we can't let her down. And
Uh-huh.
that was KJ. Pat sat on the outside of the huddle. She was like, okay, I think you guys got the message, and
Yep.
we got out. So it was
You
just,
got it. Yeah.
hmm
Wow. Now, did you cross paths? Your time at Tennessee overlap at all with Peyton Manning?
So Peyton, fifth year when he went back, was my first year. So we crossed paths a little bit, but he was all in with the women's basketball program. I mean, I think, just at Tennessee, we all support each other. And
Yeah.
so, you have that nice connection where all the student athletes, we eat together, hang together, do a lot. We support each other for the game. So he had that, and we had that in college. And then he got here with the Colts. I came a little bit after that for the Fever, and I think Pat was happy because she had two Tennessee legends at one place that she could come and hang out with.
Yeah. And so Peyton was a big fan of Pat's, right? And
Oh yeah.
that connection was very, very natural.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He and even to this day, a lot of this stuff, the Pat Summit Foundation, and we do a lot of work around the Alzheimer's. He's really into it. He does a lot of different things. And of course, he has his own initiative that he's focused on. But anytime that Lady Vols or anytime they need something with the Pat Summit Foundation, Peyton's really generous with his time.
Yeah. So Tamika, you've got so much going on now. As you kind of look a bit to the future, if you can look ahead a little bit, what's next? Yeah, in the old crystal ball. What's next for Tamika Catchings?
Well, Lord willing, a family, having kids, having little ones running around, that's something that I've been praying for. And I want them to be a part of this journey. I think that like it's been great, and especially in this world right now with women's basketball, women's sport, and just and I don't want to say trend because I don't want it to be a trend. I want this to be the new norm of so many firsts for women, and breaking barriers, and just all of the shift that our world, our nation is having to make. I want my kid to be a part of that, and you know they'll be beneficiaries of all of the things that are going on right now.
Tamika Catchings, it has been a real pleasure to have you on the podcast. You bring enormous perspective, far more than basketball, to live to our city, our state. You're an asset. We're so glad you call Indianapolis home. Can't thank you enough, Tamika, and hope to catch up with you in person soon. Maybe at the tea shop.
Yes, we'll have to have some tea together, Gary. I would love that. Thank you for
Okay.
having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks very much. Tamika Catchings, everyone. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. And you can check out all of our previous episodes of the podcast and get Indiana Business News 24/7 at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. We'll see you next time.